like haze. In this session, our focus is on creating and developing patterns for jazz improvisation on the guitar fingerboard. The patterns that I'm presenting in this video are inspired by the music of John Coltrane, Barry Harris and Wes Montgomery. So while your fingers are learning the patterns on the guitar fingerboard, your ear is learning the sound of each pattern. There's a lot of information in this video, but the good news is each pattern is only 4 notes long. And by the way, if you've found some ways that have helped you improvise on the guitar, don't forget to drop a comment in the comment section below this video. We'll all benefit from that. Okay folks, time to get started. Here we go. In this session, we'll be looking at ways of creating jazz patterns for improvisation on guitar. We'll be doing this by focusing on several patterns that John Coltrane used. The chord progression that we'll be basing all our exercises on is the first 8 bars of a tune called Jordu, written by Duke Jordan in 1953. The format of each exercise will be structured like this. I'll introduce a pattern that will play over the first 2 bars. Then in the 3rd and 4th bar, we'll transpose those patterns to accommodate the new key center. Then in bars 5 and 6, the chord progression returns to the same set of chords as the first 2 bars. Therefore, we'll move our patterns back to the original pitch that we started on in bars 1 and 2. And then in bars 7 and 8, we'll introduce another idea, something different from the patterns. Throughout this session, we'll use ideas influenced by Wes Montgomery, Barry Harris, and so on. These Coltrane patterns are ideal for helping us develop long jazz lines, because each pattern is only 4 notes long, and that's the ideal length when we're learning new material, to learn a maximum of 4 to 6 notes at a time. And this helps us avoid the overload problem, which is the #1 enemy of the creative guitarist. The first pattern we'll learn is one which is often referred to as John Coltrane's signature pattern. It's the 1, 2, 3, 5 tetrachord. The numbers refer to the scale degree numbers. For example, the first chord is D7, which means the scale we'd be working from is the D Mixolydian scale. Therefore, our pattern is derived by selecting the 1st, 2nd, 3rd and 5th notes from this Mixolydian scale. Let's have a listen. In bars 7 and 8, I played a major 7th arpeggio 1 tone lower than the dominant 7th chord. The dominant 7th chord being A flat 7, therefore I played a G flat major 7. And this provides us with a lot of pretty upper extension notes of the chord, the 9th, 11th and 13th. And this is a concept that Wes Montgomery used quite often over a dominant 7th chord. Let's have a listen to the same exercise played a little bit faster. For our next pattern, we're simply going to invert that pattern that we just played. So instead of playing the 1st, 2nd, 3rd and 5th notes, we're going to play the fifth, third, second and first notes of each chord. And now the same exercise a little bit faster. Of course, at the moment, these exercises won't sound like improvisation. They'll simply sound like exercises, because that's what they are. Their function is very important, because we're going to use this type of pattern playing as a springboard to future improvisation studies. One thing's for sure, our brain likes patterns. And the more our fingers remember these patterns and our brain remembers the sound of these patterns, the easier it will be later on to transfer the sounds we're hearing in our head to the guitar fingerboard. Now in this next example, I'm going to mix things up a little bit. I'm going to play some ascending versions of the pattern. That's the 1, 2, 3, 5 pattern. And I'm going to mix that up with some descending versions of the pattern. That's the 5, 3, 2, 1. I'm also going to play a few chords here and there, and in the A-flat 7th section, in bars 7 and 8, I'm going to play a Barry Harris style chromatic scale. Now before we go through and play this next exercise, I'd just like to take a minute to explain what I mean by a Barry Harris style scale. First up, let's play an A-flat Mixolydian scale, because that's the scale that would work over the A-flat 7 chord. Let's do that first. Now Barry devised a very clever way of playing a chromatic scale. I'm just going to talk you through the notes in an A-flat chromatic scale, only playing it the way that Barry Harris stylized it. Barry's concept is that anywhere in that scale, and I'm referring to the A-flat Mixolydian scale, anywhere where there's a semitone in between each note, you play that semitone. Like for instance, between A-flat and B-flat. There's an A, so we would play that A, just like as in a normal chromatic scale. However, at the point in the scale wherever there's a semitone, like for instance between C and D flat, what Barry does is play the next scale note. So instead of going C, D flat, Barry plays C and then misses out the D flat, hops over that D flat and plays E flat. Then he comes back and plays the D flat and then continues on his way, playing D, D sharp, E, and then we run into another instance between the F and the G flat where there's no semitone in between. So once again, Barry would jump from the F over the G flat to the next scale note, which in this instance would be A flat, then come back and play the F sharp or G flat, then continue on his way, G, and then finishing on A flat. Okay, enough of all this. Let's hear all that in action now. So this is our next exercise with some variations on the patterns, the occasional chord, and a Barry Harris style chromatic scale. that same exercise a bit faster. This next exercise features a 5, 6, 7, 9 pattern. So this hits all the upper extensions of the chord, which adds a different type of texture. In bars 7 and 8, I'm using a whole tone pattern that we covered in a previous video. I'll put a link in the description below if you want to check that out. And now the same exercise a little bit faster. And here's one more pattern for you. 9, 7, 6, 5. Let's have a listen. Now here's that same exercise with the tempo moved up a little. Well, that's it for today, folks. I do hope you enjoyed the lesson, and I hope there's something in this lesson that'll help you develop your own musical style on guitar. If you enjoyed this session and felt you got some value out of it and you'd like to support this channel, there's a link in the description below this video. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on all the good stuff, and if you like this video, don't forget to give us a like. It really helps us out. Until next time, all the very best with your guitar playing. Bye for now.